we're going to turn to Sina Azodi, Director of the Middle East Studies Program at George Washington University, also the author of Iran and the Bomb, United States, Iran, and the Nuclear Question. Thanks so much for joining us, Sina. Your book warned about this exact escalation, and we just heard from Fraser Jackson there to say that, in fact, there were many months to go until Iran was capable of enriching to a certain position. But has Washington now just given Iran the excuse to go and weaponize further and reach that point?
I think there's a very strong incentive. Even prior to these attacks, and even June 2025, there were many calls inside the country. There was a strong public opinion in favor of going for the bomb. Some 60% supported it. The political elite also supported it. But it's not just about the incentive or the motive. It's also about the opportunity, because since 2002, Iranian nuclear program was under strong scrutiny of Western intelligence agencies. The opportunity to sneak out and develop a nuclear weapon has long been gone. So yes, there's a strong incentive, and I'm seeing some people have already saying, if we had basically had gone for the bomb, we would not be in this position. But again, that opportunity is gone, and I think it will take a few years for Iran to be able to reconstitute the program. Because one thing that we have to keep in mind, that you can bomb the facility, you can assassinate the people, but there's no way in the world, there's no ammunition in the world that could destroy or erase the knowledge out of Iranians.
That's quite an important point there, just on the education that exists, and that will have continued absolutely irrespective of the death of Ayatollah Khamenei.
Well, absolutely. Look, if the United States wanted to destroy the enrichment program in Iran, it should have acted in the year 2000 or 2001. But that technology in Iran is already widespread. People have been working on it for decades. It's been imported to the country. It's been institutionalized in the country. So the death of Ayatollah Khamenei or assassinating a bunch of people will not can postpone the program for a few years, but it cannot, again, as I said, destroy the knowledge or the capacity of Iranians to produce centrifuge machines, or the knowledge, the scientific knowledge, to be able to enrich uranium in the future. That knowledge is already there and established in the country.
So say, for instance, you were in those negotiating rooms in Geneva with the knowledge that the United States was probably going to strike regardless. What diplomatic off-ramp ideas would you have given to those in the negotiating room, the likes of Abu Sarakci, Ali Jani as well? I'm just curious, what expert advice would you be giving right now?
Well, right now, I think that the only off-ramp for the United States and Iran is to stop the carnage, stop this war of choice. There's only one way out of this, and that is to settle the nuclear issue diplomatically, as was under the JCPOA. And as the foreign minister of Oman plead to the president of the United States to give diplomacy more space. We are now seeing the Omanis and Iranians coming out publicly and saying that there was a diplomatic solution within reach, but the president decided, not out of necessity, but out of choice, to strike Iran at the time when its own intelligence people are saying that even Ted Cruz announced, Senator Ted Cruz, that there was no belief that Iran was marching toward nuclear weapons. In fact, Iran's enrichment program had been halted since June 2025.
And we just want to reflect on Donald Trump's statements on that Truth Social post that he did, saying that the combat operations in Iran are going to be continuing until all objectives have been achieved. Now, we've been talking very much about nuclear. In the 12-day war, that was very much the focus, those nuclear bases. And once they were bombed, it seemed like the United States and Israel came to a consensus that their objectives had been achieved. But what looks like an achieved objective here, because it's so much more nebulous than what we're used to?
Well, I would make the argument that the U.S. and the Israelis did not achieve their war objectives in even June 2025, and that was to destroy the nuclear program, which has been degraded, but it hasn't been destroyed, as I pointed out, or force Iranians to sign an unconditional terms of surrender. That has not happened. I think the current objective of the United States in the war is to degrade Iran's military-industrial capacity to defend itself and weaken Iranians so much that it can no longer pose a threat to the Israelis. And that's why I think that Prime Minister of Israel sold that narrative to the president that Iranians are so weakened and so desperate that we can quickly either force them to get a deal from them or win on the battlefield. But as you've seen, Iranians, yes, they have been weakened, but they have been firing relentlessly. And I think that from their perspective, because they're fighting for their survival, they have actually escalated by attacking everybody in the region. And your previous guest rightfully pointed out that this is what they think, that they're fighting for their survival. And that's why everybody will be a target until they force President Trump to come to an agreement. But I don't believe that Iranians will ultimately sign an unconditional terms of surrender as President Trump has been asking.